Thank you for joining another show of the Finjan Show. I'm your host, Faris Alami, and it's my honor to be with you today. Throughout our journey, I've been fortunate to work with so many resilient entrepreneurs and leaders throughout the world. And one of the things I learned from them is that you always have to have what I'm going to call a backup plan. A backup plan for the business, a backup plan for the activities, a backup plan for the data, a backup plan for whatever it is that you're doing. And sometimes you may have to have multiple backup plans for you to really get to make sure that you are in a safe spot. Having personally lived through many of these disasters in the past, or that I'm going to call them different episodes of life, I've learned that you could really have different activities that could help you back having a backup plan. So let's talk about today the digital backup plan that you could have. I'm going to share with you what I've been doing to make sure that I have some kind of backup plan for all the data that I have digitally. Now, you can also have a backup plan for your business. Who are your customers today? Who is your backup customers? What happens if your customers go out of business or they decide they don't want to do business with you anymore? What happens if you decide you don't want to do business with them anymore? Think about what could that be for you, right? What are the different market segments that you could be thinking about for your specific business? Where are you offering services today? And can you offer in a different location or different segment of the people or the businesses? So you could think about that in the same way as a backup, right? What's your backup plan for that? And today I'm going to discuss specifically the digital backup plan that maybe could shed a light for you of how you could make sure that your data is backed up. Now, I don't share this information, say Faris's way is the best way. Actually, I challenge that. I share it in a way to say, this is what I've learned, this is what I've seen, and this is just one way for you to think about it. And I'm hoping through the conversation that we're having today, that other ideas could be inspired, that you could come up with the plan that works for you. Having contingency plan for your data is important because these days, as we continue to move forward with more information on the web, the chances of anything going bad becomes much higher. And now you want to make sure that you have the right information when you need it, as you need it. And from what I've learned through my experiences, you'll never be 100%, but you want to be as close as you can to that number. I work with an organization out of Canada called KOM Networks that actually specialized at the time, and I'm sure they still do today, to backing up your network in multiple locations. They had some, major institutions to be their clients, so they had to make sure that all the data is backed up in multiple locations, multiple times, just because in case of a disaster happened, that those groups wanted to make sure that they had the information accessible. Most of us in the small business world, we don't have the funding that's needed to do something like that. But we do have some resources available, some of it in a low cost, some of it is in a high cost, that could potentially help you get there. So what are some of those resources? What can you do to back up? Well, one of the tricks I learned really quickly is whenever I updated my computer to a new computer, I never got rid of the hard drive. I took the hard drive out and bought what they call cases for it, or shell case, and plugged it into that, and then allowed me to make it as a backup. So automatically now I had a physical backup from the original computer that I was using personally for my data. That's one. So you could physically upgrade your computer, take your old hard drive, put it in a little sleeve. They call them sleeves, they call them boxes, they call them convertible boxes. And usually they have a plug for you through USB that you could plug into your new computer, and now you could access all your data through that USB. Another trick I learned is using Google Drive or Dropbox or iCloud to have a backup. So again, many of these things I just mentioned, for like less than $100 a month, potentially probably $10 a month, most of them, you can have now a backup for all of your data in there. And what's unique about any of these three that I mentioned, or Microsoft, by the way, that I mentioned, you can actually access this information at any desktop or any computer or any device anywhere around the world. That makes things much easier for you to have one cohesive place for all of your information. Let's take a break and we'll go into more details as we discuss how to have a backup plan for your data. We'll be right back after this short messages. Welcome back, and thanks for tuning in to the Finjan Show. I'm your host, Faris Alami, and we're discussing today having a backup or contingency plan for your business. Now, I mentioned earlier that we are not discussing customers contingency or backup for the business finances or anything like that. Well, today we're talking about specifically the backup for the data that you have online or for your work. So how do you back up your data to your Google Drive or iCloud or Microsoft OneDrive or Dropbox or any of the other tools out there today? I'm mentioning a few of them, but there are lots of them out there. Well, there are simple steps that you could do. Many of them allow you to have a little folder on your desktop that moving forward, you could just save it there. And in my case, what I did is I had it saved to the cloud, but then the cloud is also saved to my drive. So whenever I save something on my cloud, it goes automatically to my drive. And then I also invested in a small machine called my cloud, and I have it sitting right there. And I basically go ahead and just back it up occasionally to there to make sure that it's backed up there. So now I have it backed up on my cloud in a physical location here, backed up in the cloud twice with the Google Drive and the iCloud. And yes, I have certain files that I've saved on Dropbox that I could use certain times. You could do this by any other way. I'm just sharing with you what I've seen and what I've done and what others have told me that they're doing. And I'm hoping that will shed a light for you to say, what can I do about what I'm doing? And then, of course, as I mentioned, having saved some of it on the old computer is a backup. That's another way for you to have some data. Now, of course, in my case, I might do it every 3 to 4 years. I buy a new computer, so the data might be 4 years old. But if God forbid I lose everything, at least I have 4 years ago some of the data that I've done. We could talk about this for days, and I'm hoping that I simplified this message for you. To back up your data is really simple. Either create a G drive that you could use it moving forward for all of your documentations, or create a Dropbox where you could have a Dropbox on your desktop, or you could just drag and drop things and save things just there, or your OneDrive or your iCloud, whatever tool you want to use, but use it as your permanent one, and then back that up to another tool that's out there as well. And again, most of these tools are either really low cost or free, or a little bit less than 10 bucks a month, maybe 50 bucks max. And then now you could have that set up. Now, of course, there are lots of awesome professionals that we know within our ISM network that we would love to connect you with and provide you a service like that. I'm mentioning that just because I don't want you to think that we won't support such activities. I'm mentioning that because you could also do it by yourself, by learning through either YouTube or just by listening to some of these insights that I've been sharing, and then researching how you could do it yourself. You could do that. And of course, you're welcome to hire a professional to do it as well. So thanks for joining today, another Finjan Show. And I hope that this insights allow you to think about how you could back up your data to make sure that you are set up for the next, God forbid, another disaster that you might need to access your data and no longer accessible from the one place that you saved it in. Till then, have a good day. Thanks for joining.